To make our jack-o'-lantern, I'm going to show you this really fun technique using a stencil, how you're going to make the black background for the jack-o'-lantern, and we're going to make him orange, and he's going to be adorable. So first off, we want to put our stencil here. These are from Sweet Sugar Belle. You're going to put your stencil right here, and you're going to take your spatula, and this is just a silicone spatula, and this is my outline icing, and I'm going to spread it here over the icing. I turn it just a hair so I can hold it with 2 fingers like so. And you're just going to spread your icing over the cookie. So don't worry if you get over the lines, of course that's going to happen, but we're gonna make him orange and he is gonna turn out great. So I'm just gonna lift up carefully. And there we have our outline for our pumpkin. To add a little sparkle, we're gonna add some rainbow dust here. And my spray isn't working too well today, so we're just gonna sprinkle a little on here, but you can see how it's nice and sparkly. It just gives it that little added detail to our jack-o'-lantern. And next we're gonna take, and so this black here is gonna be totally covered up. We're gonna take our outline icing and we are going to just trace around the black stenciled part that we just did. So this makes a really neat technique and super fun. You can get about 10 stencils, maybe even more, with using just that one stencil and your outline black icing. So you can do this different ways. You can make different sections for the jack-o'-lantern, or we're just gonna do one big giant pumpkin. I'm gonna leave a little room for the stem, and then I'm gonna come around the edge like so. All right, so next you want to take your flood icing and we're going to fill him in, and I like to kind of just do the middle here of the jack-o'-lantern. I'm just gonna go around where I just outlined. So don't be afraid to use a lot of icing. You shouldn't overflow. I used a tipless bag to make that outline, but you could use like a number 2 or a 2.5, and that's gonna give you enough thickness that it's not gonna go into the middle of that black part that you just outlined. All right, so now I'm just gonna take my scribe and I'm just gonna move some of that icing around. I wanna make sure that I fill this up in the middle pretty good. You don't have to wait a certain amount of time in between, but you just wanna make sure you cover all of it. So next I'm gonna take my yellow flood icing and we're just gonna add a few dots here and right into the icing. This is our wet on wet technique, and it's just giving it a little something extra there. We'll do the same up here at the top, like so. Those are just going to just go down really nicely into the icing. And then I'm just gonna add, once this is dry for about an hour or 2, I'm gonna add my stem to the top of my cookie. And there you go, my cute little jack-o'-lantern. All right, it's time to make our adorable and friendly little ghost here. We are going to take our outline icing with our white, and we are going to just outline our sweet little ghost here. As you can see, I'm pulling up pretty far away from the cookie. And we're just going around. I'm going to turn him so that I can easily see where I'm going. So I'm coming up pretty far away from the cookie, and that's going to give you more control over your icing. All right, we're just going to flip them back around here. I'm going to push this icing out just a hair. And then I'm going to take my outline, my flood icing, and I'm just going to fill in and go around the edges. This is my favorite part. It just fills in nicely. This is like maple syrup consistency, and you're just following around the edge of your ghost. You want to make sure that you cover the whole area. All right, once that's dry, you're gonna let that dry in front of a fan. Do a little shake, shake, and a little tap, and that's all gonna settle out. Now, once your ghost has dried, you are going to add in the details. He's been drying for over 8 hours, which is what I want so that my black does not bleed into my white icing. So we're gonna add 2 eyes here, kind of in the center. They don't have to be exact and perfect in size because it is, after all, just Halloween, so it doesn't have to be. You could add some character by doing different sizes here. But we're gonna do our black, and then we're gonna take our outline icing in the white and add a little dot for the highlights. And then we're gonna take our edible marker. This is a food doodler pen. You can purchase this on Amazon, on my Amazon link. And we're just gonna make a little mouth for him. And I'm gonna do this first, and then add his fun expression here. All right, and the last thing I'm gonna do is take my outline icing again, and I'm gonna add just like some little hands here to add just a little extra detail to him. And that just adds a little extra. Even though it's outlined, it'll still come out like I can just rub those little points out. But there you go, there's our friendly little ghost for Halloween. Now it's time for our spider web. We are going to outline our spider web in black. This is outline icing. And we're going to outline the entire thing in black icing. Next, we're going to come back with our white icing. And just go all the way around, following as closely to the edge as you can. We're going to use our scribe to get really at the edge of our spider web. Now we're going to take our flood black icing, and we're going to make a circle here in the middle, and then a second circle, and then a third circle. You could always do tighter circles and do more, and that's totally up to you. So next we're going to take our scribe And all you're gonna do is just drag your icing away from the center towards the peak of the spider web. I'm wiping it off every time I make a line, so it just gives a clear definition. You don't have to do that. You could just go right along and just keep working without having to wipe it off. All right, so you would let this dry for a couple hours, and then you're gonna come back when it's dry, and you're gonna have your spider web here. We're gonna turn him just a little bit, and I'm gonna put my spider right here. So I've got my purple outline icing, and I'm just gonna make an oval just right here. This is gonna be the body of the spider. I'm gonna fill that in real quick with my flood icing. And that's just good. I'm gonna do that pretty immediately since I did a really thick outline purple. And I'm gonna take my outline icing and I'm gonna make his 8 little legs. So they're just gonna be coming off of his little body here. Turn this so I can see better, but you want to make sure that you have 8 little legs for that cute little spider. I'm going to use my outline icing to make 2 eyes. You could always let this dry. I'm going to do a wet on wet technique and go ahead and add them in now. And so I do my white, and I'm just doing one kind of bigger than the other. I want to add just a little bit of dimension there. And then I'm going to do, you could do your flood or your outline icing. I'm just gonna do my outline because my flood is really thin. But all I'm gonna do is see how it's sticking up there. I'm just gonna push that down just a hair with my scribe and push it down in there. Now, it's not gonna be completely flush with the purple icing, but it will look really good. It's not gonna look sticking up. We're gonna give him a cute little mouth. And then last, we're just gonna add his little top piece here, his web coming down. And I'm just doing a few squiggles for that. And just right down there to the top. Isn't he cute? Now we have our cute little spider that we are gonna create. He's not a scary spider, he's a really cute spider. So all I did was trace around the edge, or trace around his body here, his head, and this will be his body up here, and then I kind of have some lines here of where his legs are gonna be. So you can totally just do that using your scribe to etch it. But we're just going to outline where his head's gonna be. I'm going to outline his head and his body at the same time, though I'm going to not flood them at the same time. I'm going to turn it around here. This one's wanting the curl on me right there. And so I'm going to flood his body first. I'm going to let that dry for about 20 minutes. And then we have our head that we are going to flood. Again, you're just taking that green flood icing. And I want to give some nice puffy icing there. All right, and once that has dried, you want to let that dry for about 6 hours before you add the black and before you add the eyes. So we got him here, he's been drying, he's ready to go. We are going to add the eyes first. So I'm just going to do my white outline icing. I'm going to make the eyes one a little bit bigger than the other, just to give it some fun dimension. and kind of spooky. And so you see I'm not having them touch. I want them to be a little bit farther apart than what they are. And next I'm going to do my purple. This will be my purple flood icing. I'm going to fill that in quite a bit. And push it down just all the hair. And then I'm going to add my black flood icing on top of that. And that's just going to give his eyes some really cool dimension. Those are all going to just flatten out there. All right, now it's time to add his legs. I've got my outline icing and my number 2 tip. You could do a number 2. I want to have like little dots here. So all I'm doing is just applying a little bit more pressure there at the bottom. Again, just adding a little extra dimension to our friendly spider. All right, and the last thing he needs is just a little mouth. I've got my food doodler pen again, and we're just gonna add a little smile right there on the side, and he is ready to go. Now we're gonna decorate our bat. I've got my purple and my black and my white ready to go. So this little bat is going to be purple. So we're gonna outline him. And we are just gonna follow right around there. He almost looks like a cat now. We're gonna go ahead and do his wings. On either side. And when I fill him in, I'm going to go ahead and fill him in the middle, in his head, I guess really, and his body too. And I'm just going around the edge, filling in the middle. I'm going to take my scribe and just kind of move things around, make sure that they go where I want them to go. All right, and then you're going to want him to dry for about 20 minutes or so, and then you're going to come back and do his. So we've got his wings here. We are ready to flood. So we are going to flood his wings here. And you're just filling it in on either side. I'm going to use my scribe just to push that icing around very nicely. It's going to be touching there on the cookie. All right, now you're gonna let that dry for about another hour or so, and then you're going to finish up the eye. All right, so now we're ready to do his eyes. We are gonna do, again, just like one big circle and then one smaller circle for his eyes. I've spread those kind of far apart so that they can have room to spread. Then we're going to do our purple icing. This is my flood icing. I'm going to tap it down just a tad. And then I'm going to add my black icing on top of that. And this is again with my flood icing. Just going to tap so you can see now why we added a little extra room, so he's not too crowded. All right, now we're going to do the bat wings. And I'm just outlining kind of these again, where they were. And I'm just gonna come from this point here and just come all the way down to that point, and then come all the way down to that point. So it's just adding a little bit of detail. To his bat wings. So you could do it this way and come up. And now we just need his little mouth, and he's got to have some fangs as well. All right, so let's give him a little mouth. You probably want to let this dry for a little bit before you add his fangs. But you're just gonna come in, and you're just gonna add a little pressure and then pull back on your white icing. I'm just gonna take my scribe and kind of make it how I would want it. But that is your cute little bat. You could always add in the white highlights there if you wanted, but that is how he's made.